first, I will introduce myself as well as my co-host today, Christian. So Roxy Kaus, I am head of experience strategy here at Bloomreach. I lead our business services consulting team. We're responsible for training and enablement as well as more strategic consulting. And we also assist with things like staff augmentation. Maybe if a team doesn't have a merchandiser, we have a merchandising strategy and optimization arm of our team that can support that work. So that's just a little bit about myself and my role here at Bloomreach, and I'll pass it to Christian to introduce himself as well.
Thank you so much, Roxy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Christian Tate. I am a senior digital experience strategy manager here at Bloomreach. I get the pleasure of working with our clients on a more day-to-day basis in tandem with Roxy and her team. The primary goal for the DXM team at Bloomreach is to help you drive, value, or help the team see value in the Bloomreach partnership, whether it be from a day-to-day merchandising strategy or anything along the lines of escalation internally. Our goal is to ensure that you're just seeing value across the board. So thank you for having me today, and I look forward to walking you through the merchandising 80-20 rule deck that we've put together for you.
Thank you all for your feedback here. So we're going to jump into the meat of the presentation, and it's one will provide an insights overview. I know many of you are very familiar with the insights portion of our dashboard, but just to level set and to just provide a brief explanation of our workflow here as we think about insights. So our insights is it's an intelligent workflow, so it's AI assisted, it's intuitive, and for your merchandisers to really accelerate their work and drive greater outcomes. And the way that we like to think about this flow is it first starts with identifying, prioritizing opportunities. So maybe you're looking at optimizing your top queries or your top category pages or pages that are getting like a lot of traffic, or you're looking at certain optimizing for like holiday or certain trends. So it's first identifying and prioritizing those opportunities. And we help you do that within our insights tool. You'll notice you have like opportunities. We break it down by like top categories. We break it down by like top queries. And from there, it then goes to finding a solution and taking action. So if you're going through insights and you're identifying some opportunities, maybe there's, if you're looking at a category page and we're providing you with insights, like maybe there's products missing from this page, or customers are getting to this category page, but then they're going on to search for these things. That identifies some potential like opportunities, and maybe you want to take action and find a solution there. So we make it easy to do that within our Bloomreach dashboard. And then you could then move on to think about like targeting and testing. One thing, and I've been a merchandiser for a very long time, I have a merchandising hunch often, and sometimes I'm wrong, but just being able to target and test and validate some of those assumptions, we make that really easy to do within our dashboard. And then as you're moving forward, you've done the work, taken the actions, you've tested it, you validate, and you really like assessing, does this have a positive impact on my experience? And if so, can I roll this out to other categories? So an example of this might be like, maybe you think new arrivals will benefit by showing that higher up in your results, and you want to validate in some of your top categories or some of your top queries. You do that work, you test, it proves to be effective, you decide you want to roll that change out globally. So it's just an example of how you can go through this flow and identify the opportunities and moving on to assessing impact and selecting winners and creating a winning merchandising strategy that is a continuous loop of optimizing and identifying where you're efficient and where there's opportunities to improve. Let's move into, so we've broken out this presentation into weekly activities you can take, bi-weekly activities, monthly activities, and that's how we'll preference the rest of the presentation as we work through how you can leverage these actions that we're taking to really, merchandise more efficiently. So I'll pass it to Christian, who will walk through the weekly activities checklist here.
Thank you, Roxy. So this will just be a general overview of all the search optimization analytics and different playbooks that we will walk through. As you can see here, we kind of have them broken down into a cadence. But if we go to the next slide, will highlight the exact weekly activities that we typically are advising and seeing clients use as a best practice to follow on a weekly basis. I want to start this off by saying that our dashboard data is 100% dependent on our ability to track activity on your site. So if you know of any non-pixel issues, if you're working with a strategy group team member, or you're working with a digital experience team member on a monthly cadence or biweekly cadence, or whatever your cadence looks like, ensure that the conversation revolves around the health of the pixels and our ability to track the customer journey on your site. That's just a good best practice to help us understand and be able to trust the data that you're seeing in the dashboard. But with that, we'll start with more of like your weekly cadence activities that you could kind of start within the dashboard. So head terms is going to be your high search volume or high search revenue queries. Typically, these, the queries that are performing with the highest revenue and highest volume, the biggest thing that we suggest that you look at is the relevancy within those queries, right? So are the products that are associated with your highly trafficked search terms relevant? Are users able to navigate through the PLP to get to PDPs of specific phases with relative ease? And is there any noise? If you feel that visits are there, but revenue may not be there, or your product page views on those specific queries may be low, this is where we recommend kind of focusing. So we'd recommend taking a look at your high exit rate head terms, or your low product page view head terms, or your low add to cart rate head terms, because you can very well have as you see in this kind of example, 10,000 visits, 758 page views, for example, but that translates to zero revenue for this in this particular case. So in this case, we want to understand, why is there such a gap in the amount of visits that are going to this desk query? Why aren't users actually clicking through PDPs, and then ultimately why isn't there any revenue? So that'll be the types of checks that you would want to do with this level of a report. And you're actually able within the dashboard to add columns to make the reports more relevant to whatever it is that you're aiming to achieve within the report once you actually drill down into the dashboard. So if you want to see an add to cart rate that isn't natively there, or you want to see a product page view rate that isn't natively within the column set of the dashboard, you can add those to kind of give you a better idea of what's driving the performance. Secondly, on a weekly basis, we suggest that you are tackling your null searches. And so you're able to navigate here by your site search analytics tab within the dashboard under insights, and then your no search revenue keywords. This will be at the highest level. So you should see this cascaded down across all your domains if you are also a multi-domain client as well. So some potential optimizations here would be to add a synonym rule where applicable for products to include additional products in the recall set for a query. You can also add products to recall manually within the merchandising dashboard, within the dashboard as well. And then you can add a redirect. So if you don't, if users are looking for vaguely looking for Christmas items or holiday items, and you have a holiday page, category page created, or you have a landing page that you'd like for clients to navigate to, applying a redirect rule in that case would be, best practices in our eyes. And then, like Roxy's mentioned before, if you want to test out, whether adding a synonym rule versus a redirect rule is driving better performance for your business, you're able to test that out in the dashboard. We do understand that we are still highly impacted by a global shortage. So a lot of times this report reveals areas where there may be an assortment gap. So a few best practices includes if a user is ending up on a null search page, letting the user know that what they're searching for isn't available, or extending their journey by providing recommendations or suggested alternatives, so that they aren't greeted with a blank page. Another option would be to leverage these null or assortment gap opportunities to gather information or feedback from your clients. We've seen a lot of our clients internally use this, index out of stock products in this way if they're temporarily out of stock, to be able to capture some type of personal data, whether it be email, phone number, address, different things like that. So one, you can keep in touch, understand what the client is looking for, build that better relationship going forward. And once the products do come back in stock or back online, you're able to notify the client that the product is available. This helps improve things like customer lifetime value and just loyalty to your brands in general.
Next, we'll just walk into biweekly activities that you could also take a look at. And just to reemphasize the points that Christian made about, null searches in particularly, there's so many things that you can think about and how to optimize that experience. And even if there are assortment gaps or things you don't carry, one thing is showing the customer something, or at least acknowledging that, no, we don't carry this, but we have these items that might be related to what you're looking for. It's always a good idea.
Great call out, Roxy. And I would also just add that I typically share with a lot of the clients that I get the pleasure of working with, use this as an additional, data warehouse or data repository. This is first party information that we are receiving from your clients. So if there are assortment issues within your product catalog, I think it is highly worthy to share this with your buying team and bring this up in, higher level meetings internally, for future planning purposes as well.
Yep. Good call out. And so the next, in terms of biweekly activities that we would recommend looking into is your terms with KPI issues. So some of those type reports are things like queries with high exit rates, queries with lowest RPV, low add to cart, site search queries, queries with no product clicks. So there's a lot of different reports that we offer within Bloomreach that allows you to identify those, queries where you might have, or terms you might have KPI opportunities on. One reason why, we're recommending this on a bi-weekly basis, where we're recommending like your, as Christian talked about, like your head terms on a weekly basis, because it does allow you to prioritize. And we're here to talk about the 80-20 rule, and you can't do everything, especially if you have a very small team. And so thinking about this workflow in this way, it allows you to tackle more, but have like a method to doing so. And this is terms with KPI issues. That's why we're recommending this on a bi-weekly basis. And so now I'll pass it back over to Christian, who'll talk about monthly activities that you could leverage here.
Yes, and so as Roxy mentioned, I think the biggest call out is that this amount of data can be overwhelming. But if you have an understanding of what your business goals are, i.e. improving RPV, our revenue per visit, conversion rate, add to cart rate, that's where you're want to spend the most time. So, take this as a form, like an informal, method of guidance. But if there are elements of your business that you specifically want to focus on, in this case of monthly, we're suggesting queries with no product clicks, queries with highest refinement, low product page views, etc. You can add those to your weekly or bi-weekly cadence as well as you see fit. But, as Roxy mentioned, from a priority perspective, we think that reviewing this on a monthly basis would be helpful. So if we go to the next slide, we'll dive in a little more, and I can give a little bit of context. Queries with no product clicks is any time that a user is in a search session and they're not clicking, or category session, and they're not clicking through a product page. That just lets us know that there may be irrelevant or thin content within that page. Highest refinement, if we're searching and researching and trying to re-optimize our search query on the site, that indicates that users aren't finding the products that they're looking for. So within this report, you can kind of see, what the next search terms were. That'll give you the insight to see if you need to create a synonym or you need to create a ranking rule to be more inclusive of certain terms within the query set. You're able to kind of do that. Low product page views we've kind of covered, but it's just, no products are being, so similar to no product clicks, we aren't clicking through to an actual product page and products aren't being viewed. Highest increase in volume, this opposite, it shows a uptick in interest for a specific query. Typically, I see this, in a culture where we are doing, collaborations with brands and spot launches or limited release launches. You kind of see where clients are coming to your site looking for products. So that kind of lets you know where their intent is, or if you have some type of an email campaign where you've promoted a new product and that has driven clients to your site, you're able to kind of see where your highest where your highest increase in volume is. New queries with the highest visits is new to this world queries to your site, also kind of indicating the real-time intent. So I would often check that, maybe periodically throughout the month as well, just to kind of see where customers' interest is. And then queries with the highest dip, alternatively, we just mentioned queries with the highest volume, but dip can be, seasonal terms or different things like that, where you kind of, after the Christmas holiday is gone, all holiday related queries may start to dip in the beginning of the new year as we're preparing for spring, and things like that. So these will be a good set of reports to kind of get an idea. And oftentimes we see that a lot of these reports kind of correlate and help you understand the full context of the consumer story.
I completely agree. And I also see, so queries with highest increase in volume and some of these others, some of these could be an indication of the shifts in your business. Like, I hear a lot of merchants asking, when do we know, like, when should we start talking about holiday? A lot of times your customers will tell you that because they'll start searching for it. Or, as a merchandiser, it's so important to be aware of what's happening in the business around you. Like if you're running if marketing is running a campaign, or if you're running a specific sale and you're calling it by a certain name, it's so important to optimize for that, because your customers will be searching for that. So like, for example, I recently saw it's like Customer Appreciation Week, like, yes, this is a campaign. You're talking about it in email and on your site, but if you searched for Customer Appreciation Week, it returns 0 results, which is a very bad experience for the customer, because they know you're running this campaign, but you haven't optimized. So it's like, these are like low-hanging fruit opportunities, and thinking about how do I make sure that I'm providing the best experience possible for the customer, and also listening to the voice of the consumer in some of these reports can help to get you there. And so lastly, and I know we have a few minutes left, we wanted to touch on category optimizations, because we talked a lot about search, and even from when we were asked like what areas of the site everyone was looking at optimizing, you talked about like search quite a bit, search relevancy, things like that. And so we touched very heavily on search. We will touch on categories here. So there are a lot of different reports that you can look at to optimize for categories. So some ones that we recommend is looking at like your lowest converting category pages, high exit rate category pages, categories that might be missing products. So one of the reports we have in the dashboard is you're looking at your categories, and we are also looking at what customers are then going on to buy after visiting those categories. And those products may or may not be in the category, but we're giving you our thoughts, like based on your consumers' browsing behaviors. If these products are not in the category, you might consider adding or at least creating some kind of relationship between them, because this is what your customer is looking for. High next search traffic pages, very important report to look at, because your customers are on your site, they're in a particular category, but then their next step is search, which means that they couldn't find what they were looking for in the category. So we should look at optimizing those pages, and you can use search intent to really optimize for categories. And it's really great within Insights. You can see both sides of the coin there. And then look at trending categories, especially as you go into peak seasons. Optimizing for those trending categories would be great as your consumers start to ramp up on what they're looking for, and it shows you their interest at the time. So that's a little bit about categories. It answers a lot of different questions, like, what products are performing well, where are my products being sold, where did the person go next when they were in this particular category. There's a lot of insights you can get from looking at category optimizations. There was a question in the chat, and it was, how best would you suggest reporting on the performance of any actions taken? If the team is spending time on things, a lot of business want to know results of these actions. That is a very good call out, and I really wish we had included a slide here. But activities within the dashboard is an amazing. Oh yeah, thank you for the documentation.
Yes, I was just looking it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Activities is a very powerful tool to be able to measure pre-post. And, as a merchandiser who has used the Bloomreach product for many years, this was how I really showcased the value that I was driving. Within activities, we allow you to, so let's say you made an update to a query, you entered the query as the entity. We will automatically, based on the date that you said you did this work, we will look at it pre the change and post the change, and report out on what the delta was, and did it impact performance in a positive way or a negative way. So activities is a great way to do that. And that's what I would recommend using to really show the value of the work.